Emotional eating is a big topic, but today I want to give you some of my best emotional eating help so you can navigate it. I've got 5 steps for you. Then I'll give you 3 tools that you can use, and I'll walk you through some of my own emotional real life examples on how I navigate it. If you are new here, hello, my name is Colleen. I am a non-diet registered dietitian here to help you heal your relationship with food, stop dieting, and start learning to listen to your body and feeling more comfortable and in control around food. Get rid of the guilt and live a happier and healthier life without the bogus diet culture food rules. You're gonna love it here. All right, let's get into the 5 steps of emotional eating help that I have for you. Tip number 1 is to actually allow yourself. If we say we shouldn't do something or we can't have something, we want it more. Think about it this way. Don't think of a pink elephant. You probably just had like a vision of a pink elephant come to your brain, right? Or think of it like those kind of like Chinese finger traps where the more that you try to fight it, the tighter that it gets, the stronger of a hold that it has on you. And when we try to say we shouldn't or can't do something, the desire to do said thing kind of builds up, like I kind of explain it like water against a dam, until whoosh, it's kind of just going to come crashing down, and it's going to be in a much stronger way than if we would have just allowed ourselves to have some. So for example, if you say I shouldn't eat the cookies for a pick-me-up on a bad day, well, when you allow yourself to actually eat the cookie, or when the desire to eat the cookies becomes so strong, you're probably gonna eat more cookies than if you would have just allowed yourself in the first place. Now, that doesn't mean you have to eat those things, but allowing yourself, saying that is a choice that I could make if I wanted to, has such a strong psychological impact. Tip number 2 is to increase your emotional awareness. Now, this is something that can be hard for people. We tend to want to sweep things, especially those more uncomfortable emotions, under the rug. Now, I grew up doing this, and this is one of the big reasons of why I go to therapy as an adult, is to learn how to feel those feelings and to address them. So being able to identify what emotions that you are feeling is really one of the first things in navigating emotional eating. And it sounds like such a simple thing, but for a lot of people it's harder than expected, and it can take some practice in learning how to do that. Tip number 3, this is a really, really important one. It is to have your biological needs met. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. I say this all the time: biology always wins. If your body is not getting what it physically needs from a calorie standpoint, a type of macronutrient standpoint, like maybe you are restricting calories or fat or carbs, our bodies are going to be drawn towards those types of foods even more. So then you're likely going to have this double pull to these foods that we tend to think of when we think of emotional eating. So like the cookies, the chips, those things, they give us comfort, right? They taste good. They might have some nostalgia to them, but they also are likely the foods that we are not allowing ourselves, especially if we are dieting, the carbs, the fat, the sugar, those things. And the reason that we're drawn to those things is our body needs fat, our body needs carbs, our body needs calories. And when we don't give it enough of those things, I always say high fat foods, high sugar foods, our body sees those as very efficient foods because fat is going to be more nutrient dense. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And sugar is going to be something that is going to be able, our bodies can absorb pretty quickly into energy. So it doesn't see those things as bad like diet culture tells us. Our body sees it as, oh my gosh, that's an efficient source for me to get the stuff that this body, this person here, is not allowing me. So having our biological needs met is going to take away one of those pulls towards the cookies. When we have such strong pulls, especially coming from the psychological as well as the biological side of things, we're setting ourselves up to eat those foods in a kind of bingey, likely doesn't feel super great, kind of out of control way. And then we're probably just gonna end up with a worse day because now we have a tummy ache on the side of it, right? We have another issue that we have to handle. Tip number 4 here is to assess what you are needing. Okay, so once we have identified what we're feeling, we want to ask ourselves, okay, what am I needing? For example, if we say I'm feeling stressed or anxious, we then want to ask ourselves, okay, what could I potentially do to help fix this or to alleviate it, right? We may not always be able to fix or, snap our fingers and solve all of our emotional turmoil that we're having, but we can ask ourselves, what can I do to kind of alleviate this or to help me work through this? So for me, when I'm feeling stressed and anxious, I find it very comforting and helpful to create a list, big fan of a to-do list, or to look at my week in a whole and say, okay, I know I'm feeling stressed that I have to get all of this done. Where can I put it in the week? Knowing that it's not going to get done right now, but it has a place. So those are some things that you can do to ask, okay, what are you needing? Maybe you're feeling sad or lonely, and what you're needing is just some social interaction, right? Maybe you decide to call a friend or go for a walk outside with your partner and just kind of chat about your day. Asking ourselves what we're needing and carving out some time to do those things can be super helpful. Now, sometimes food, yes, can be what we are needing or what we are wanting. That is not bad. That is not wrong. If you are saying, man, I'm just thinking about, we have some shortbread cookies in the fridge right now, that's just exactly what I'm wanting. Again, allow yourself to have that. I always say food, it absolutely can be what we're needing. It can be a pick-me-up on a bad day, but if we shouldn't expect that to fix our bad day, right? It's probably not going to fix our loneliness. It's probably not going to fix the stress of the mountainous to-do list that we might have, right? It's likely just going to, if we eat that in a way that doesn't feel good, like I said, we're probably just going to add another kind of crummy thing to our list. If you are having a craving, yes, absolutely allow yourself, because like we said, if we avoid that, it's just going to build up like water against a dam and then come crashing down. Again, we want to think about, what am I hoping that this is going to do for me? Am I hoping that it's going to give me a little bit of a pick-me-up for the day, or am I expecting this to fix my bad day? Because like I said, food's not going to fix the loneliness or the stress of the to-do list. It can be a temporary pick-me-up. That's not bad or wrong, but we just want to keep in mind what we're expecting this food to do and how we're eating it. Is eating it past fullness going to add to your crummy day? Because now we got a tummy ache. And tip number 5 is to reflect. Okay, so after we have assessed our emotions, we've assessed, okay, what am I actually needing in this moment? We then want to reflect. So we've decided, okay, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to eat the brownie, right? Whatever it is. We then want to assess our choice and say, was this helpful? Was it not? Taking a moment to think about this and reflecting on, okay, is this something I want to do next time? What might I tweak? What might I do differently to help me manage my emotions in the most effective and constructive way that feels good, both mentally and physically? Okay, now that we have gone over those 5 steps, let's go over the 3 tools that I have for you. I will explain them, and then I will also give you some real life examples of how I've used them. Let me find my phone and I'll show you. Alrighty, so tool number 1 that we have here. This is what I call an emotions reflection. So the first thing that you want to do, like I said, is to identify, what am I feeling, and also recognize, why might I be feeling this way, and start to kind of work through it. Now, you can do this on pen and paper. You can do this on the notes app of your phone. I use an app that I created specifically for this. I'll show you where you can use it too. There is a emotions reflection under the self-care journal entry. I select that, then I really just go to the notes section and just start typing away, processing my emotions. I will rage type if I'm feeling super stressed or anxious or angry, and then once I do that, I will go ahead and select my corresponding mood, emotion, and any other details that I want to give. Journaling is extremely effective when it comes to emotional processing. I cannot stress that enough. It's so simple, but so impactful. Get it out of your head, make it stop just swirling around. It always makes it feel 10 times worse, and get it onto pen and paper. Heck, use a napkin or use an app. Now, tool number 2 is reflective journaling. So once you have walked through your emotions, you've identified what you're feeling and potentially why you might be feeling that way, this is where it's time for us to do something about that. Something to manage it, right? That was step 4 of what we talked about, assessing what we're needing. We're now taking action on that. And it's 100% okay if you're like, I really don't know what I'm needing when I'm feeling XYZ emotion. That is absolutely okay. This tool is actually going to help you understand what will be helpful to you. So whether you do decide to do a little bit of self-care, maybe you do a little bit of movement, some exercise to relieve some stress, or maybe you do turn to food, you want to take a moment to assess and reflect, was this helpful? Because we want to know this for next time. It's such valuable information to say, yeah, that was helpful, or no, not so much. Okay, so real life example for me. My go-to self-care item to de-stress is painting by numbers. I've talked about this on my channel before, and I realized this was super helpful because I decided to try it and then reflect, and I realized that taking the time to really zone out and to concentrate on something else, I really don't have to think, right? I sit down, it tells me what to do, was really helpful and kind of just what I needed to kind of take the pressure off of the stressors that I was feeling in my day and kind of zone out, and it felt very soothing to me. I made note of that and I was like, wow, cool, that worked. So I wanted to continue doing it. And then one time I was watching some kind of trashy reality TV while I was doing it, and I realized, honestly, I also enjoyed that even more. And I reflected on this and I realized that I loved not only kind of just zoning out, not having to make any decisions, not having to be the one in charge. I could literally just follow what Paint by Numbers was telling me to do, but it also was really helpful for me to step away kind of from my own life. I just really loved that. So as I was reflecting on that, I was like, I love this evening routine of painting by numbers and kind of watching some trashy reality TV. I was like, that is really helpful for me. So now I know what to do when I'm feeling that way. Try it, reflect, and assess. I would love to know some of your guys's go-to activities like that, like self-care activities to help you manage emotions. Drop those in the comments below. It is important for us to always kind of be testing and assessing different things and experimenting. My therapist always says that sometimes our tools, this is in a variety of instances, can just stop working for us. And this isn't bad or wrong. It's just that we might need to grab another tool from our toolbox at that time. You might need maybe like a hammer instead of a wrench. So share yours below in the comments so we can kind of get a little bit of a, I don't know, variety going on. Pick one and try it. I would love to try some of your guys' own. I'm always looking for new tools to add to my self-care toolbox. Now, alternatively, we shared an example that was helpful, right? You might try something that maybe doesn't help or doesn't feel super good. So let's say maybe you were having such a stressful day and then you turned to the ice cream and you wound up overeating and had a tummy ache. It can feel uncomfortable, but we still do want to reflect on this and make note of it and be like, hey, you know what? That didn't feel super good. I can still have the ice cream if I want to. Again, we don't want to tell ourselves we can't do that, but maybe we say, maybe next time I'll put it in a bowl, and maybe rather than eating out of the carton, that will help me be a little bit more mindful of, you know, how I'm feeling with ice cream. Am I still enjoying it? Versus kind of switching to autopilot mode, and we can that's a lot of times when we can kind of set ourselves up to mindlessly eat and eat past fullness, and then we wind up with that tummy ache. Just like how journaling is really helpful at helping us process our emotions, it's also really, really helpful to help us remember things that felt good, things that didn't, help us make note of that so that we can learn. So in the app, there is food, movement, and self-care template reflections for you. But again, you could also do this on pen and paper. This is just what I personally use. And there is also a place where you can rate your mood after doing certain things. So you can really see, okay, you know, this one was really helpful, this wasn't. As we're experimenting with those, it can take some time to figure out, I love painting by numbers, you might absolutely hate it, right? Maybe you need the opposite. Maybe you need a place where you can feel like you have a little bit more creativity, you have a little bit more say in things. Everyone is different, and that's why experimenting with what works for you is so key. You can also save entries as feel-good faves and lessons learned to help identify, okay, this was something that was helpful for me, this is something that wasn't. So when you are in the thick of your emotions, you can literally just go to your feel-good faves, pick something, boom, you don't even have to think about it, you're ready to go. Literally creating your own little toolbox. Okay, the last tool that I have for you is what's called a weekly recap. So each week after I've done my journaling, I will look back on the week and just see how it looks as a whole and assess how I felt. How was my emotional management? And also, where is it kind of trending? Because you can see week over week how your mood changes, how your self-care changes, how your satisfaction, your feelings, all those things change. So it can help you kind of like course correct. Real life example, recently I was keeping tabs on those things. I was looking at my weekly recap and I noticed that my self-care portion of the weekly recap, it breaks it down to overall, food, movement, self-care. It was 50% unsatisfied, and my emotions reflections that I did were less than stellar. I did that rating for them. It wasn't great. My food and movement was fine, but it was really the self-care that kind of like stuck out to me. That mood specifically was not so great. So I made a point to work on that for the following week. So I took a look at my journals that I had in the app and I realized, wow, I only painted by numbers once. Maybe I should try to do more of that. I know that's something that's super helpful for me. It can help me with my emotional management, my stress. And when I looked into my emotions reflections that I did, I noticed that I was feeling really down, and that would probably help. I also noticed, like I said, to-do lists are really helpful for me. So when I feel stressed about the amount of stuff that's on my to-do list, I was then able to say, okay, this is what I said was stressing me out. What can I do about that? Create a list, fill out my planner. Helps me every time. Now, you can do a weekly recap on your own. You can just think about it, use pen and paper, or you can use the one in my app, which will roll everything up into a pretty little package for you to look at. It's incredibly helpful, and I love that I can really see the changes week over week. So then as I made those changes, I saw my self-care score improve the following week, and I was like, that is so cool that you can actually see the benefits of the efforts that you're making. And it makes you want to do those things more because you're like, wow, that actually did help. It's incredibly motivating. I will link the app that I created and the one that I use in the description. If you're looking for an on-the-go option, download it, give it a go. You can get some free journals to try in there to see if you even like it. Nothing like this has existed before. It's something that I've had in my head for a while now, and let me tell you, it has been such a lifesaver in total wellness, food, movement, self-care. I know you're gonna love it too. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful for you in walking you through those 5 steps of how to handle emotional eating, how to navigate it, and giving you those 3 tools for emotional eating help. It's definitely something that takes practice to learn how to do. You probably won't hit the nail on the head the first time that you do that, but the more that you practice and reflect and assess, the more easily that you will be able to navigate emotional eating in a way that feels good both physically and mentally. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe to the channel, and like I said, leave your top self-care. Let's do this. Leave your self-care or your emotional management tools in the description, but also this can be really helpful is to identify what it's for. So like, my emotional management for when I'm stressed is different from when I'm lonely. That's also something that you can think through is, okay, what types of these things, of these emotional management are helpful in what situations? So again, that reflection is super helpful for that. Be sure to hit thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video is uploaded. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. See you later.